Yeah, what's going on for me at the moment is, I'm starting to get a real sense, that my psychosis, um, has a real strong narcissistic component to it, where, I, I'm not real sure, but I get a sense that, it's like having a cup of tea, or coffee, where, it's a little bit too bitter, plain, drab, dull, so you add sugar to sweeten it, and that's what my narcissism is like. It's tantalizing, it's refreshing, it keys me up. And, in normal people, most people describe that as a feeling of being in love. They're very casual in regard to, I love that, or I love that guy, and that's a transference of that, primary narcissism, and it's considered healthy, whereas for me, when I experience it, it takes the shape of, or it takes the form um, uh, of an, of an, uh, of an apotheosis, of an apotheosis. And, it's glorious. I regale in it. It's luxury. It's lavish. And the trouble with that is that that kind of expression triggers me into detachment due to early childhood trauma. Where the first time I remember consciously experiencing it, you know, um, it led to an assault. So for me, I don't experience that somatically. It's just in my intrapersonal sense, in my inner realm. It triggers, derealization. So it's good to be finally getting a handle on that, because um, I mentioned it to a doctor once, that or a psychiatrist, that I experienced depersonalization disorder, and I guess he took offense that I had diagnosed myself, and the truth be known, I don't experience it to the point, where I'd qualify for a diagnosis, or I may if I quit smoking, something along those lines. But, I do experience the symptoms of that, as do most people at some stage throughout their life. Winning the lottery, is, a surreal and dereal, especially when you find out the news, you become informed, you know, that's what it's like for me every time, I experience that, um, primary narcissism, so, it's, it's harrowing, especially when in an intrapersonal sense you can sense what normalcy would pertain to, and you tease yourself with those kinds of ideas because you think you can emulate them. And that's not the case for me. It's just wishful thinking. It's an illusion. And yet, it was like the carrot before the donkey. It had a certain amount of charm and appeal to it. It was captivating. It never failed to capture my curiosity and my imagination. And like regular people, I don't. Unlike regular people, I don't respond to celebration, validation, or validation and celebration, or validation that leads to celebration. What I experience is, I self-validate, and then, I get catapulted into a sense of triumphancy, where I think, that, my ego is victorious and therefore paramount, just because it can, monosize health and well-being. When the truth be known, that's just my spirit. So I never wanted to really let that go, in the sense that I may just fall into depression, despair, and despondency. But I have been a little bit despondent. But I see that as a healthy sign of maturity, and that I am finally growing up, I suppose. So I think in sound people, that primary narcissism has a somatic connection, and it coalesces with the psyche, whereas for me, all that kind of activity takes place in my psyche. I detach from my physical realm, because I have compartmentalized, or instinct compartmentalized that, to protect it from being ravaged by external forces. So it's it's getting close to 10 minutes. So I think I'll leave it there, and continue on at some other point. I'm starting to feel a semblance of mania, where I want to contribute, I guess, to the world at large. But I guess I and being a little bit reckless, because making posts to YouTube is a very public thing, so entering into the global arena, I suppose, that I didn't do that voluntarily. But my paranoia is coming back to me. Look out. They're, those infidels. No, I guess I've grown to the point where I realise that, even people with privileged lives, they can be pricks as well. So there's no point in blaming them, just because, they have beneficiaries who are willing to prop them up, basically, because that's what the investment community does. They like their profits. So that's the medium. And that's the strongest bandwidth. So the majority does rule, or likes to think it does. It can be manipulated like that Holocaust survivor said. There's 10% of people who are empathetic and compassionate. There's 10% that are malevolent and tyrannical, evil. And there's 80% that can be shifted or swung one way or the other. I was in that 80%. And I guess until I make a decision as to whether to go empathy or empathic or malevolent, or perhaps that's just the course. Yeah, that's just the course of, being reasonably intelligent, utopian, dystopian. Not many average people contemplate that. So I'm just a fraction above average. Even though I don't fucking act it at times. So peace be with you.